And I never met her. She reached out on Facebook because she's.
I think that's a great idea. That's awesome. That looks good.
And I mean, in the co-op, I went up to them, because I figured people are throwing stuff away, they're gonna have good stuff they wanna give away too.
Yeah,
So I went up to the co-op, got a big bin, talked to them, took pictures, they've got a thrift shop at the Northwood at Post that anybody can shop at, just like Goodwill.
yeah.
But all this money stays there, and it's a nice thrift shop, like my daughter would have a payday in there.
Oh, my kids love her.
And they use the proceeds of the Northwood Co-op thrift shop to pay for non-narcotic drugs and utility bills, and so it all stays in the co-op. It's not like Goodwill, where that, it's right there.
That's slick. That's awesome. And then you could ask people like as they come in, hey, are you cleaning because you want to sell your house?
Exactly.
I would be like, are you decluttering your house because you want to sell it? Because that's kind of what I do.
No, you asked about, it's for 10 to 12, but or until the dumpster is full.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Or until the dumpster, yeah, because you can only have the dumpster to the top.
Yeah.
And, or they won't. So it's like 10 to 12, first come, first serve until the dumpster's full. I have no idea how to gauge. I have no idea how to gauge. I've never done it. No, we've never done it in our neighborhood. I'll give you feedback next week.
Did you?
Yeah. I'll give all the feedback.
When I dropped Sydney on the school.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
I'm excited about it.
Running is so long. It's like a few miles to get out to.
The other, you know, going back around. So, I think there's the neighborhood.
The guys are at my house at 6:30 in the morning, bigger kids.
Okay.
I'm not a morning person, yeah. Hey, yeah,
It's 30 in the morning?
yeah, and they leave at 5. Wait, years, I appreciate her
Yeah,
very much.
yeah. I appreciate it. too. I'd like to be starting at like 8. So.
Anybody want more? We got plenty.
I might go back for more.
Go right ahead, staff. Try to save a little bit for them, so. Help yourself.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that top is super cute. Is that from Wow?
No, actually, it's not.
It's from Belt, you can't buy it, because I'm going to get one. today.
Oh, great.
Because I have shoes that, from Tom's, that like perfectly match that. And I was like, I hope you don't get the weird about this.
So they could have it in a couple different things, too, like a dress.
Oh, yeah.
That might be like, like dressing.
How you doing?
But
Yeah. Right. Hey, have a lunch.
Thank you.
You ever help yourself, sandwiches?
Thank you.
and I know your dress.
Now then your job and then everybody's stuff.
But I don't know what I am fine.
No, I have these, those are so cute though, since you got those are all.
Yeah.
Right.
My husband likes bras.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, I'm with you. Like these shoes are super fun. I have some, I'll pay pretty good money to get really good clothes. Mhm.
How about you, David? I don't look like a kitten heel. You might want to be. I should be wearing both.
They take us as they get us.
Uh-huh.
They take us as they get us. That's all there is to it.
Yes. Yeah, Dallas maybe a little bit just what so.
Yeah, I'm a big, these are cookies, I don't know.
Chad was always like, Dallas would stand up and Dad would go, stand up, Dallas.
I know, we're all.
But I wish every day.
Hey, is he getting whatever he needs to get done? Chad?
Oh, he's sweet.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's moving on. I talked to him about it. It's, you know, I knew what they were doing with the youth damage.
Yeah, sometimes I actually prefer it's kind of like it's got a platform because it supports my foot.
I didn't expect
Hey, Cam.
the side of that stuff to occur, but I just can't imagine trying to do a whole
Can you hear it?
massive home renovation like we were trying to do. And not,
Remotely?
and not have to do something. David, can you be on this Zoom call? You should be in the classroom. I'm sorry.
He's showing property, he's in between.
That is not showing.
We did have ours.
You're good?
Yeah, we did everything. I'm Mr. McKeever, are you good to go?
Yes.
Looks like you have plenty of people attentive and ready to go.
Okay, so, everyone got food?
Yes, thank you.
Good deal. Well, I appreciate y'all coming today. Now, this may sound cocky, but I actually go to classes outside of something that KW presents.
Which is really
And
cool.
that's what this is. This is actually a mashup. Think of like two songs you mash together. This is actually a mashup of two classes I've been to. One was the business leaders of Atlanta, breakfast a couple of weeks ago. A really cool, meeting center down off of Piedmont Road, which I never called Florida, which I never heard of before. It actually used to be an old Chrysler dealership that they totally converted. And, that has to deal with the R that I'm gonna talk about. There's a conversation about that. It's a little bit connected into to Chick-fil-A. And then the other part was at the beginning of the month, I was down in Fort Lauderdale at a class that Jeff Glover ran. And I don't know if you know who Jeff Glover is, he's in KW, or in the KW world. And he has a whole teaching and coaching thing. And a buddy of mine who's from KW in Tampa was a computer program. He was really big about it, so I said, okay, you go, I do it. So we went down there. Also got 50% off on those in front room, so that helps too, you know, but it was actually, it was really nice. It was interesting being in a classroom again with people that weren't all just KW. There was Remax, there was EXP, there was Global Banker, you know, that. But you could, it was funny because Jeff would never say his affiliation with KW, but you could hear KW, you could hear Kellerisms, you know, weaving through the conversation with that. And both these things that I've sort of matched together have come out of those classes, and it's not just about self-leadership, it's also what you can use in your sales, in talking to people, and how you can look at things in your own world overall in doing that. So I've never taught it this way before. This is the first time, so we could be done in 10 minutes, or we could be here till 4 o'clock. We'll just have to see how it goes. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the 8C's, which is in the title. And I guess I should let Shelter talk. I just thought about that. It's like they're feeding us, I'm not letting them talk whatsoever. Hey, Hunter. These with your like providing food. Sorry, I just went diving into the class.
Yes, no, they're good.
Go right ahead.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you guys for coming. Appreciate everybody showing up. We always like to sponsor these classes for all the ALC teachers and bring food for you guys. So appreciate everybody showing up, and I'm excited to get a class back. So thank you guys for coming, and if you need anything, feel free to give us a call, and looking forward to hearing about the class. So
Thank you.
yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. That was our musical intermission. You know, for the class. So the first D, and literally the headlines of all these, you may want to take notes. I'm not a person who makes a whole PowerPoint presentation because I don't know how to get you down on the computer. Is the first D is calmness. Now, there's times when we all get excited in our, yeah, I know, I'm teaching about calmness.
I mean, I got like, really?
Yeah.
Sorry.
But the question to ask yourself is, what influences your calmness? Is calmness something that gives you energy? Because there's certain people that do that. What would it do for your business if that calm was in there? We all get fired up about deals. I mean, I literally 90 seconds before we started, my internal anxiety was coming up because of a client calling on a deal we're closing on next week. And it's yet problem 762 that we've been dealing with out of a 10-month contract negotiation.
Wow.
In dealing with stuff. So but I have to stay calm with them. One of the worst things that you can do when you're talking to a client is, or a team member or associate, that is showing anything but being calm. With this, in this particular situation, I'll give it to you, it's about a 3-acre tract of land on Buford Highway. It's 5 parcels, 4 owners, 4 attorneys involved, 2 brokers on the buyer side that doesn't even respond to me. I don't talk to them anymore. I talk to the buyer directly. And we'll see how much. Oh, and a title company on Park Avenue in New York, the investment. And my clients who are very, very good people, they constantly go like, is this gonna close? Is this gonna happen? Is this gonna, and I just have to keep going like, yes, just have faith. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. We've been through EPA studies. We've been through 17 title issues, things of that sort to deal with. So imagine all that and your clients wondering, in 2 extensions, 245-day extension on the contract. So imagine all that going, but you're the one that has to be calm. Now, the thing is though, you've got to find out what will create calmness. People who are great leaders, you'll see them get mad every so often, but mostly you're going to see a very much a veneer of steadiness. And the best way I can describe it is that, and this comes out of bold, is that the most successful agents are the ones who look like the glacial swans going across the lake. They're very regal and everything going, but they're paddling like hell. That's what that calmness you need to get. And if you have that calmness, it eventually, while you may have to fake it till you make it, it'll eventually come into like this land deal I'm doing at this point. I know we're out of due diligence. I know it's going to happen. We're going to get there. I've known this for 3 months. My clients haven't known that, but I've known it for 3 months. And at this point now, they're understanding why they're going to be paying a lot of money to us, for having handled this deal. So if y'all have questions or anything or thoughts on it, just speak up. This doesn't need to be an hour of me blathering, which I'll get enough as it is. Okay.
I don't feel good.
Yes. Basically, because I just graded her in the class. The second one is courage. So courage, anyone who's in real estate or selling real estate needs to have courage. Because it's like jumping off a 100-foot cliff, not even a 50-foot cliff, onto an ice-filled lake. It's not for the faint-hearted by any stretch of the imagination. But in your world, and I want to hear back from you, what, be it a personal thing, a medical thing, if you want to speak of it, financial, career-wise, what do you have to do to make yourself feel courageous?
I have to feel knowledgeable, like, I feel like I have to have some type of, like, I know some understanding of what I'm about to do in conversation, so I have some courage to actually.
No, that's great. I mean, I'm waiting for someone in the room to say tequila makes them great.
Yeah.
Not that that doesn't, whatsoever.
That's after 5 days.
Yeah, but, courage is, knowledge is power, quite honestly. It could be, courage is knowing that you have faith in yourself that you're going to get to that other step. Courage could be, I'm dressed well that day, I look great, I'm gonna go, beat the woods down, I'm gonna win this thing. So, yes, sir.
What's
The winter of yours is high-fiving to somebody on Zoom.
I could be that too. What's the difference between courage and just self-confidence?
Courage is, I think courage is, I'm gonna go back to, for those of us who were in the business in 08, 09, I think courage is being able to stay the course and know that it's going to be, what's the phrase we're using all the time in KW right now, charts and storms, type thing. Is courage is that is knowing it's not going to be easy, but still going for it. Doing it. Self-confidence I think is more connected to your self-esteem, that you have the tool set, be it knowledge or whatever it may be, to be able to go forward to do it. You had to have back in 08, 09, you had to have a lot of courage to make it through that time. You had to swallow your self-esteem to a certain extent. Like for myself, in 09, I did 51 leases that year. And we all know how well those pay out. But it paid off when I did, out of those 51, I eventually did 27 sales transactions that came off of it. But it was, as anyone who's done a lease, how many people in Europe have done a residential lease? Okay, so I'm curious to the choir. They're a pain in the you know what.
Yep.
To deal with. But to me, that's what the differential is being able to walk into the hailstorm, and know that's the right thing to do with that. Self-confidence is, I'm great at what I am. I saw one of those things, I think I sent it to Michelle, is that when you sign off on an email or whatever, you write best.
I've been doing that.
And that's it, I have too, because all you do is say best. But with that, and you think, most people think, oh, wish you best luck, best regards, everything. What the Instagram thing say, what it really is, best equals, I'm really saying I am the best.
From the best.
No, not from the best, but what it said on the Instagram thing is, I am the best. Now, you can't really say that in the email necessarily, but I literally have been saying, I've started saying it that way. It is maybe my own secret, to say it, but it gives me self-confidence.
That's building your self-confidence.
Yeah, it's building it without it sounding arrogant, because they really don't know what it is. See, that alone takes courage to be able to do that. So the courage part of it is, being willing to go educate yourself. The courage part of it is being willing to take on, I think what occurs, this is a great example, if you want courage, is in real estate sales, there is a tendency for people to sit inside a certain price range that they're willing to sell. Okay.
Or geographic area.
Or geographic area. And I've seen it more in the price range issues than I have seen geographic, but I know what, I agree with you on that. They think, oh, when I get above 400,000, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to talk to these people who can afford a $600,000 or $700,000 house or whatever. It's the courage to be able to go and push yourself in doing those areas. On the commercial side of the business, I've had people say, do you sell land? Do you do this? Do you do that? And when I didn't do that at first, I was like, yeah, we can do that. No problem whatsoever. And I educated myself to be able to do that. So now I'm literally able to do land, office, medical, tenant rep, everything. The only thing I don't like, warehouse. I don't like doing heavy industrial because of the environmental issues with it. But, those are the courage points that you need to be able to push and be able to tell your team, your associates to have also, okay? The third one is compassion. Now, when you look at calmness and courage, calmness is like the Zen statement. Courage, you're supposed to sound like a lion attacking. And then all of a sudden compassion, you're supposed to be like a bunny rabbit or something. So it's like three very different, emotions that you've got, going through there. And what compassion is, the question to ask yourself is, what do you need in your world to be compassionate? And this is like a 180 difference from going from courage to that, because when you think courage, that's a rather aggressive work. Quite honestly. You have to go face the storm, run through the woods on fire, whatever the case. Compassion, you've got to be empathetic. You've got to be sympathetic. You've got to have a warm heart, something of that sort. But what in you guys' world do you feel that you have that makes you compassionate, or what you need to work on to become more compassionate and know when to apply that with a client or a team member.
It's hard to be compassionate sometimes with buyers in this market,
Okay, and why is that?
just because it takes so long and they're indecisive at times and you take 12 months to find a house or 1 month, but the ideal place it can be challenging sometimes to be compassionate.
That's true, that's true. I mean, the land deal I'm telling you about, that I've told you all about, I mean, it's been really hard sometimes with the clients to just say to them, it's like, you know, it's gonna be okay, you'll all be fine. You want to tell them to shut up and, you know, sign a paper, you know, to do that, but it's important to have the compassion parts of it, because we all have a different story. There isn't a single person in this room or this office building that hasn't had some challenges in their life. Now, how you get around getting frustrated with buyers who don't move on a quick basis is, and the responsibility is onto yourself, is you've got to build enough of a pipeline sitting there that if something doesn't move at the speed that you want it to, that there's enough elsewhere in there to fill in to be able to do it.
I would just say that in order to have compassion, I think it's good to start from a standpoint of empathy, like, look, you know, I understand your situation, you know, I can kind of empathize, and like, if you're in a buyer market, like, look, I know it can be frustrating, but here's the deal, I understand that the feelings you're going through, and just kind of more empathize, instead of just, you know, saying, hey, you guys are idiots, this is the way it is, you know, just kind of come from a,
It's so much easier to do.
you know, from a standpoint of like, look, I get where you're coming from. Here's the situation, however, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'll be right to you. I think what popped in my head when you were saying it is a lot of times, number one, people just want to be heard. And you've got to have the patience to be able to listen to it and nod your head and say, I understand. The second one is to focus in and say to them, you know, let's not keep talking about the problem. Let's talk about the plan to resolve the problem. I've literally had people who have just railed on me. And then all I said to them is, okay, I get it, you know, that's our problem right now, but let's focus on the plan. And it's almost like, you know, they say like music to wild animals will calm them down. When I've said that to them before, they chill out, because it is compassionate. It actually, while it's doesn't sound compassionate, it actually is compassionate, because you're been willing to listen to them rail off like they have, but you're willing to help them come up with a plan to take care of the problem. You know, that's where the compassion is. A person who wouldn't be compassionate would be like, okay, well, you know, go figure it out yourself, and, you know, come back to me when you want to do something. And what I've always discovered with, at least with my clients, that they seem to react well to, is very much bullet pointing what their options are out. Instead of going to a long monologue of what can occur and everything, like when we go into due diligence, you know, both commercial and residential, and then say to them, okay, we've got a few choices here. We can either, you know, they've got a few choices here when we present, you know, the ATAC. Either they can either say, yes, thank you. They can say, thank you, but no, thank you, we're not going to do anything. They can say, okay, we'll fix items 4, 7, and 9, and 10. We're not going to touch the other stuff. Or number 4, they say, okay, we'll adjust the price and add the closing costs, $4,000 or something like that to do that. When I break it down like that in a calm, see that word, calm voice, in doing that, it sinks in a bit better. When you start throwing ideas all over the place, it doesn't come across as compassionate or as empathetic, you know, in doing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's the notes, yeah?
Yeah, you gotta match your voice, like say, right now, I have one dealing with a buyer that's, well, a lot, all over the place, and she calls me and she's like, oh, like really fast and speaking loud, and I'm like, it's okay, just take a breath, and I slow down, and then it calms her down.
Then the biggest thing I have to do,
Frenzy.
yeah, the biggest thing I have to do, which is really hard for me, is it's like a wind-up toy. You know, when they're like that, you just gotta let the wind-up toy run itself out. You know, if you try to cut them off, it fires them up even more. So I literally have to, that's really hard for me to do, but I just have to let the wind-up toy just undo itself and hope to God they don't have an Energizer battery. Number 4, creativity. And this is where we're gonna start going into what sounds like some of the whiteboard CTG issues or items. So what activities do you have to do to be constantly creative? Now, in real estate, a good realtor is one that can dance really fast, figuratively, not literally, and think fast, and B, think outside the box. You know, don't get so locked down into is this. We can't do anything outside of it. What things do you think you have to do to be creative?
Visualizing the house and the paint colors, don't worry about that, or you can take this and move this wall, just kind of
Yeah,
going through a lot of that kind of stuff if it's not exactly what they want.
yeah. I mean, it's really, and this is with leadership or with clients or your kids or whatever, is trying to come up with ideas that, and this is where the creative part is, where it isn't just so locked down that you never can move out of it. You become so rigid in doing something.
I think that's where the end goal is the most important thing, because you don't necessarily have to take this one path to get to the end goal, but keep that goal in mind. There may be other avenues, because, for example, like financing, or maybe they're interested in a townhouse versus a single family. Maybe, you know, there's maybe a different area, you know, what's the goal? If the goal is to have a home for your family, you know, what are the different ways that we can get there?
One of the things that just popped in my head is I tell clients when I'm setting up an MLS search for them, I want basic parameters. I don't want, I want a kitchen.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that type of thing. I don't get into that because or they ask me to suggest things. If there's even a 10 to 15% chance of something fitting into it, I'm gonna allow that to go through the search because, and I would hope everyone else's experiences. I've had a number of times where I think there's a 20% chance that people are gonna like the house, and I'll be damned if that's not the one they bought. You know, I love the one I had, they wanted, a big open floor plan, and then they wanted, not to be on a busy road, and what's the other thing there was something else that they wanted. They ended up buying a house that I got claustrophobia in, because it was so chopped up. And it was on a 2-lane road with a turn lane at the entrance to the subdivision. Now, but what they liked about the house was it had a huge backyard that went all the way to a creek. That's what caught their attention, you know, doing that. So, yes, sir.
Yeah, I was just thinking about a creativity where, let's say this group wants to buy this building. They have to put a lot of money into it. They're like, I'm not gonna have the money for the down payment.
Yeah.
You know, this is just, I don't know if it's gonna work. Okay, we'll go to the seller. Would you do willing to do seller financing? Okay, all right, let's talk about that. So then you talk about, well, what kind of interest rate makes sense? You talk about, well, 8 or 9% is really what it's gonna be, and your buyer flips out. I'm not paying 8 or 9%. How about we do interest only? You know, that's gonna look like more like a 6.5 fully amortized loan. Then you talk about, we can refinance after that, you know, that creativity.
Yeah, creative
you know,
solutions.
It's creativity is more of like just a.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, on a deal that we did this year, I had a client who asked me to check on a building that looked like it was for lease. And, and asked, would there be some interest in selling? It ended up being that way. You know, you just never know. The point of this, of creativity being in the list, like it is in YC.
I always try to work out.
So, and I'm not doing the dance. There is a dance, you guys, if you did not know that.
No,
To
not
that.
that.
you have to, if you want your business to expand, you have to come up with those different ideas. You have to think outside the box. Once again, those of us who were in 08 and 09, we learned that really fast, on doing that. In commercial, it's even more so because exactly what Craven's just said, you would never do that inside of a residential deal. I mean, sometimes you gotta barter stuff. Hell, I almost bartered a golden retriever one time, to make a deal happen, and that's just part of it to, make things occur. And if you have a team where you have people working with you, is to be creative with them on how they're supposed to be, how they can grow themselves to be able to be fulfilled in what they're doing, be open to if they have come up with different ideas. It doesn't have to be your ideas all the time. All people, not that every idea is gonna work, but there's a lot of good ideas that we're never gonna think of, whatsoever. And that's what creativity.
You say you barter a golden doodle?
Golden retriever.
Yeah, get the breed. I almost did.
They wanna put it in contract?
Mhm. Yeah, it ended up being a pool table, but they wanted to go retriever originally. It was my 3rd year in real estate. I remember that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, as if,
It's like
as if they are crazy.
That's like the mascot. I would
I
like
was
that.
mad at them.
Like that kid.
So.
I got an offer with Costco runs on it as extra stipulations. They said, well, we've got 2 cases of toilet paper, a case of macaroni and cheese. And
Oh, yeah.
and wine.
Currency at that point.
Exactly.
The sweeten the deal.
Somebody put it in offer and they were bothering their toilet. I mean, nobody else.
I know, I remember. It was scary times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like being in the blitzkrieg.
Yeah,
Yeah,
perspective.
it's respectful. Okay, number 5, actually doing pretty good here. To Craven, when he asked me about, courage is the same, confidence. Okay? Now, I think among all of us, this one is probably the one of this list that could be number 1 or number 2, the biggest challenge that you have. So what gets in your way of having confidence?
Fear.
Well, if you don't have the knowledge,
Product.
the knowledge is very important. If you don't have it, you don't feel confident talking to people, how to guide them.
Okay. Okay, what else?
Limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs. Living in.
Why does, let me ask you a question, and I was thinking about this earlier this week on something. Why do we have limiting beliefs? Why do they exist?
Yeah.
Okay,
Or
Because
experience.
people like to stay within a comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's
going
uncomfortable.
right back to what I was saying, it's like if you're used to selling that.
Yeah,
It's 500,000 and you don't go above it. Think about, and this connects together, confidence and limiting belief. Think about what could happen if you took that ceiling and just blew it apart. Let's look at it this way. What's the worst thing that could happen?
You fail.
Get a no.
You get a no.
You fail.
Now, if you're in this room and have sold real estate and haven't gotten at least 1,000 no's, you're not a real. I got a no 15 minutes ago in an email. I'd gone after a referral on a house up in Gainesville. I thought I pretty much had it, quite honestly. And they said, we actually have somebody, really close by and stuff. Not too upset about it because it was all the way in Gainesville, which is long for me to go to, but I get a no. But the reality is, I'm going on to the next one. A no, all a no is a bus that you missed. There'll be another one in 15 minutes.
Let's do the next Jeff.
Yes, and, but limiting beliefs is, not to say that I haven't had, them, I mean, I'm human, but it caps you so hard at an expense that can take so many things away from you. And I'm not talking about financial things, but I'm talking about experience things, mental health things, physical things, that you can do. And I think that when I come to team meeting, and such like last week, I was like looking around the room, And I'll guarantee you that 90 to 95%, I'm not trying to be insulting, the 90 to 95% of the people in that room, if you took away their self-limiting beliefs, they could be rock stars.
Yeah.
You know, the second thing that you could take away is, or add to them, is drive. They could be rock stars. You know, they could, and I think drive is to a certain extent connected to confidence. If you have the confidence to do it, it's gonna push you further. You know, Sunday I was driving and we passed a building that is a condo building in the Brookwood area of Atlanta. And I know the realtor who sort of owns the building or whatever, and very incrementally I thought about moving or something, but I'm careful about that because I want to move to another building. If I move to another building that I can do sales in, the same way that I do Inspire. And I made, you know, and my partner, he made a comment saying that, well, isn't so-and-so in the building that you said, you know, does a lot of business? And I literally said, yeah, but I can blow them out of the water. You know, which I know I can, you know, the consistency, the level of service and everything that's there. I can guarantee you 10 years ago, I wouldn't have said that. You know, that's self-limiting, that's Michelle nods her head. Like my own peanut gallery right there, you know, commentary. But
Keeps you grounded. Keeps you grounded.
yeah, that's great.
Gives encouragement.
Yeah, but that's the thing is that I let that self-limiting belief blow away. You know, do it. When I moved into Spire, I was nervous, would I ever get a sale on that building? We're about to do a 25th transaction in that building in 3 years.
Been killing it in there.
You know, so don't let that, you know, have confidence in what you're doing. There is no one that can't do it better than what you can if you let yourself believe that. You know, now you have to put the components together to do it. You have to look at where your competition is. Where can you excel? Where can you have higher levels of service? And it's almost like food coming into your system, that when you see that and you have those little successes, and look at those little successes you have, be them big ones or small ones, and let that build up that foundation of confidence that you have. Because there's no, in that room of what we had 50 people at team meeting, something like that on Tuesday, there is no one in that room that couldn't be doing the same level of sales that Michelle does, or that Kim Adair does, or anything of that sort. But I will guarantee you, it is that combo of limiting beliefs and the confidence that comes along with that drive that's keeping them from doing it. And there's no reason why there shouldn't be that there. You know, a leader will, if they've got to fake out that confidence to be able to do it, you know, if they can do it. Do you not think that Elon Musk at some point had shaky confidence?
You know, good.
Yeah.
I don't think he did.
I really think he did so.
That's a good, it's a small good.
Yeah, but yeah, when, you know, you just but he did this something, you know, it's just coming that. Now, the other part of that though with confidence is not taking the pendulum too far in the other direction and becoming arrogant.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I will tell you, I've been here a long time. I think Michelle and I are like number 5 and number 6 in longevity in this market center over time. And I have seen agents who they have a really good year and they get really cocky about it and they let you know about it. And I guarantee you, every single one, there's probably about 6 or 7 I've seen this occur. The next year, their year sucked to do it. Humility is one of the most important things that you can have in there. You know, as Mike keeps telling us, we're unemployed every day when we get up in the morning. I don't care if you've got 7 closings coming up, you're still unemployed. Unless you get on the phone or have an appointment meeting or you're lead generating, you don't have anything going on. And those people start thinking that, well, hell, I was number 2, you know, in individual, and I'm not talking about anyone specific, but you know, they think that it's just gonna come to me. Trust me, it doesn't. If you don't pay attention to your business, it's not going to happen. There's just no other way. I'm very, very grateful for the business I get, and I've been very fortunate with it, but I still get up every morning and I feel like I'm a junkyard dog going to fight every day. You know, I'm not guaranteeing anything that I'm not, that somebody's just gonna call me and say that they want me to do, they want to do business, you know, with that.
You can also, even take it to a corporation level. I remember when, Research in Motion, thought they were the best thing since sliced
Mhm.
bread. And Apple comes on the scene and they're basically like, oh yeah, isn't that cute, that little device thing? Well, nobody knows about Research in Motion.
No, never heard of.
The research and motion-
Exactly.
And there's a movie coming out on that,
So
actually.
you can,
I had a BlackBerry though.
yeah, well, that's it. Research
So
in
I can remember, I was the first person in the market here to get an Apple phone, and it was quite, there's no buttons to hit. You can't feel
You don't have to have the dial on the side, but anyway, the point is like, they rested on their laurels, they thought they were the best thing since sliced bread. Their email was the best, their exchange, everything, and now they're not even here.
Yeah, you've got to constantly, part of your confidence is to be willing to be able to evolve. To tell your team members on how to grow and how to go there. Here's my KW ad for a moment. How you do that is you go to class, not necessarily this class, but go to mega camp. Right now, I think there's only 4 people going to mega camp, and 2 of them are in this room. At this point, unless you're going.
I am.
There's 3 people in this classroom that are going to mega camp. Okay, there's 6 of us going. What is mega camp? Mega camp is one of our 2 national meetings that we have, and they're 6 months apart from each other. So let me start at the beginning. The big meeting is family reunion, which is always in February. And next year it's gonna be in Vegas. And so that'll be fun. So the Mandalay is gonna be held at the Mandalay Bay Hotel, which is where we had it before. And it is our gigantic meeting where there's usually around 15,000 people come. There's breakout classes, there's a lot of speakers, a lot of exhibitors. I've gone so many times now, I go more to network because there's a ton of sub-network groups that go to it. There's a lot of good shows to see. There is my American Express bill after Michelle got pulled in the last time we were there. I got peer pressure to go see J-Lo. No, Sharon already got the fan. J-Lo, give me your card, it's $250. Because yes. But the other thing about, we're talking about, courage. I mean, it takes some guts to go to family reunion. It is overwhelming because you see people all over the country going to it, and they're doing it, and you don't really know, how much business they're doing, or whatever. So family reunion is like the big one. Then you have mega camp, which was originally designed for higher producing agents. It's designed. What it originally was supposed to be is you had to be what was deemed a mega agent, which is 180,000 in GCI or 6 million in volume, I think is what it was. But anyone really can go to it. Yeah, anyone can go to it. And that's a smaller meeting. It's always in Austin, Texas. But when you go there, the people that go to family reunion is like everybody. What you see at mega camp are the more serious people, for lack of a better word. You can call me snotty, but they dress better, their acts are better, they're more professional, they're more driven. Now that group, they've gotten better, but it's usually been designed more for teams and groups and stuff like that, but they've added in more individual stuff than what it was. But it's a great place to go networking because it's about half the size of what family reunion is to do that. But I've almost every time now when I go, I come back to the lead or somewhere where I met somebody or something of that sort. It is to me, that's been one of those foundational things that has helped me be able to expand the business. Michelle's made contacts throughout the Latin community by being part of it. There's all the affinity groups are, there and such as that. And it's worth, I know everyone says, I don't want to spend the money on it. I'm telling you, you're gonna get the money back from it. It'll come back to you in one of 2 ways. It's either gonna come back to you in a deal that comes out of mega camp, or it's gonna come back to you by giving you confidence, by giving you clarity, by giving you creativity on different things.
on
did.
fire under you.
Yeah.
Light a
No,
fire.
she- Trust me,
People.
Really definitely light a fire.
yeah, I mean, yeah, with her, what occurs is she gets all fired up and I hear it all the way to the airport. I get competitive and I get depressed that I'm not doing what everyone else is doing and she doesn't want to hear about it. So, you know,
So balance each other out.
Maybe the two of you balance each other out.
So even if I don't have a.
Yes. yeah, I mean, I'm telling you guys, if there's anything in the world you want to put your money toward education, is doing that. The second level of it, I would say, is taking bowl. I've taken bowl 13 times. Now, people go to bowl and they have epiphanies and they're, they're fizz-blowing out their butt, calling expires out their ear. And, daisies come up and roses and everything. I'm like the woolly mammoth that keeps moving around, lumbering, and slowly it goes into me. But I will tell you this much, I got a multi-million-dollar deal last year from a referral from the bowl that I went to.
Networking mastermind.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of it. It's part of it. I don't want to sit on the, for me, I don't want to sit on the phone and do cold calling. It's just that Crayons is great at going to like shopping centers and talking to people. I have absolutely no freaking interest in that whatsoever. Somebody else knows how to do expires. I've done them, but hopefully I've grown into the season where I don't need to do them. If I had to do them again, I could do them. It's a basic skill set that I've got built into me, but I don't want to do them. So networking is good for me.
One of the great tips I got at family reunion was to take bold in another city, in another market. Like
Yeah.
maybe like Greenville or Charlotte or someplace that is,
Yeah. I didn't do.
Even in a different
You
part of
drive
Georgia.
back every week.
even in a different part of Georgia.
Yeah.
But if it's not that far.
I've
it's not that
I've
far.
heard people say that. I don't really know
It'd be fun to go
necessarily.
to Savannah,
I mean,
GLG. down.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah,
Actually, one thing I did when they announced that Savannah opened, as part of GLG, I sent notes to every single person that I wanted to send.
She did.
So I haven't heard back from any of them.
but.
They know who you are.
Yeah.
That's why I would go to you.
So,
So you know an agent somewhere across the.
yeah, hell, I just work at Warner Robins,
I know it. And you stopped by her office. I mean, not only did you meet the person, but you like created the relationship that now you will always be referral partners.
Like, how many of y'all know that we have an office, not us in GLD, but Total Wings has an office in Albany, Georgia.
Yeah.
But then y'all are more from than I have done. I should fight anymore. Not too big of Albany, Georgia, it's a hit. But I now have a contact person. in Albany.
Yeah, I was in
Yeah,
Orange
that's
Beach.
what she
They
is.
have one.
Huh?
They have one in Orange Beach. I was there.
Yeah, I knew that.
Had I looked a little better, I would have probably walked in, but
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Oh, no,
looking.
there's one in Durango. And 14 people. and
There's like nobody there, yeah.
I mean, I would never have thought that, whatsoever.
We'll start somewhere.
Yeah, I went to Keller Williams in Alaska last summer.
Oh,
The teeny, teeny.
Yeah, we're a big office compared to a lot of. Yeah. Okay, number 6, curiosity. So assumptions block curiosity, non-judgment. Okay, it's a bunch of words together without connecting them together. But going back into Y4C2 TCC, I got it that is one of the things that I think that we fail as realtors at, and I'm putting myself in there, I have to mechanically tell myself to do that, is seek to understand. Instead of just immediately getting mad about something you learn about, do you actually ask, somebody who has the knowledge, what's going on? Or do you have a client who all of a sudden does maybe not a 180, but they do a 120 in changing their mind on stuff? Do you try to find out what's occurring, in their world to make them, start doing it? It may be something that they're embarrassed about. It may be a financial thing. It could be anything of that sort. But I think that we're pushing to get to the sale that we just run over the understanding of it. And if it isn't what it was told to us in the beginning, then we don't understand why it is that way. There's those of us in this room and on Zoom, hello Zoom people, that each one of us have our own roads that we've taken. And we react to things in different ways. I know that there's very specific things that I have triggers on that, that Kathy may not understand. Why is he reacting that way? Why is he jumping back at it? Or something of that sort. And if we don't want to ask to understand why that's occurring, we can kill a deal. We can lose an employee. We can strain an associate relationship if we don't. And I really think that that's one of the most important ones of Whiteboard C2T is to seek understanding. Because once you start seeking to understand, that feeds back into the compassion part to do it. And if you're seeking to understand, that actually takes courage to do that. And if you're being curious and you do it in the right manner, you'll come across as being very calm, as long as you don't hold them down by the throat. While you're doing it. So while everyone has some tactics. But it makes your world run a lot smoother if you do that, because there isn't one of us who've come down the same road, or one of us who have had the same experiences, or one of us who always has the thing. We're all not going to have the exact same reactions to a multitude of different subjects to do that. And that's why it's important to have, to be able to be curious on that. Now, number 7, this is a favorite of mine because this is what fuels calmness for me, and that's clarity. Now, this one I connect into one of the bold laws. I always lose the freaking phrase on the board. There it is on the shelf. Clarity gives you power, is what it is. When my brain starts gunking together, and because I have one thing I inherited from my dad, he kept everything in his brain. Information, to-do list, documents. I mean, he was his own BlackBerry, in his head, or in tried to be. And when that happens with me, everything starts getting done, and then I start forgetting to use it, or I forget to call this person or something of that nature. If you sit down and you do that, just make a bullet point list and gives you clarity, I promise you are going to feel blood pressure go down because you're able to see everything. If you're able to do that with your team members and give clarity of what the mission of the group is, that gives clarity and that calms everything down. It's more the fact that where sometimes you feel like you're standing in a fog, or a team member standing in a fog, or a client standing in a fog, or something like that. When you list it out and you get that clarity, that the clouds part in doing. It may not part the way you want them to necessarily, and there could be a thunderstorm coming, but at least you can then create the game plan on handling, what needs to be done. Things will just flow easier if you do that. And if you do have the clarity, once again, that'll lead into calmness and confidence. Wherever confidence, we'll go back down that way. We'll go back to confidence. Because you got a handle on things. Okay. And then finally is connectedness, which I always found sort of a weird word. So connectedness, what gets in our way of connecting with others? What does get in our way of connecting with others? Are you connected to yourself? Do you truly know who you are? Now, mind you, I'm not going to put anyone on a couch and try to do psychoanalysis here. We don't have that much time or that many days to be able to do it. But when you're talking to a client, if you're using compassion, if you have confidence, if you have clarity, don't you think you will connect into that client or that team member in what they're doing? So you can see how these are, for lack of a better word, connected to each other in being able to do that. Being isolated or always being in your own brain just makes you more isolated to do it. By coming to the market center and participating in class like today, you're more, well, other than the people in Zoom sitting on the parking lot, because they couldn't get in their cars and get a free lunch. So yes, I'm claiming you people. Is by coming in here and connecting and talking and fraternizing and stuff like that is better. By being able to have conversations to truly understand what your clients are needing and what their family situation is, with their financial situation, such as that, that's connectedness in doing that. I'm not saying you get piled into where they're asking you to do stuff. If there's a client, no, it's not a client, I don't know what they are, but I can just already hear them asking for things from me that I know I've got to put a wall up, too. There's that glass wall that has to come up. So you don't want to go, that far. But when you get that connectiveness in and you build those relationships with people, it puts something out into the law of the universe where more stuff will come to you. And if it's with a team member, they're going to realize that you're on their side. Think about it. I mean, all this has pretty much worked for somebody at some time. Have you ever had a boss or supervisor who you think they don't know me or squat?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's the example of disconnectedness, if that's a word. That, if you didn't like that, I mean, how many of y'all like that feeling? No. So if you didn't like that feeling, shouldn't we be working harder with our employees or associates or our team members or clients to connect in with them? And think how much stronger that relationship could be. And how much more of it you look like a leader if you're able to do that while being calm and having clarity and self-confidence. So, to connect all of them together. So that's the 8C's. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the other part of this class, but it's going to start off with the letter P first, that will lead into the letter R. So we hear, especially at KW, we hear mindset, have a positive mindset. I'm going to ask you to look at it going down a different road. What about looking at it from perspective? Now, perspective I'm talking about is how to view things. Make sure I say it. Not having in mindset, I think, have a great attitude. How go out, kill the day, kick butt, things of that stuff. But instead, in perspective, looking at how you view things on how you do things. Instead of going and saying, I'm going to go do an open house, it's going to suck. Instead, have the attitude of, I'm going to have an open house. Open house, everyone in this room can say are crap shoots, But how the perspective is, hopefully people are going to come, it's going to be a good day, we're going to go out and attack. Now it's connected to mindset to a certain extent, but the perspective is that you come out from a positive place to do better things instead of being negative. Work with my perspective that I go by is everything will be fine. Have faith, it'll be fine. And I'll guarantee you that helps me in my sales. If you look at my sales, that is one of my main foundational items. Once I get under contract, I don't get too angst up about anything. The next thing to get through due diligence, but I have a 98.5% success rate on getting through due diligence. So it's not high death rate, that occurs there. So when I get something under contract, I'm already immediately thinking, okay, what's happening out 60 days from now? I'm already thinking what's happening in August right now is what I'm doing. So that's how my perspective, works on that. And the other part of it to look at in perspective, and this is coming, I'm gonna have to get my plan out so I can write the whole thing down. Perspective is the only thing, this came from the business breakfast that I went to. Perspective is the only thing in the world that can transform the results you get without altering a single element of your environment.
Dave, can you say that again? please?
Sure. Perspective is the only thing in the world that can transform the results you get without altering a single element of your environment. And what that means is we can go out and we can get the fanciest photographer in the world. We can get the fanciest offering memorandums in the world, the fanciest flyers, anything of that sort. But if your perspective on a listing, let's say, sucks, it's not gonna make you, you're not gonna sell it any better because of that. You're not gonna have a smoother transaction because you got a hot looking flyer. Your perspective is something that is intangible that can create, this is another way to look at it. Perspective is an intangible element that can change the tangible elements of your life. Because if you change your perspective and you work, and I almost say every single time when I talk to another agent, this is a team effort. This is not war. I'm not gonna, do Gladiator 300 on you, in the Coliseum or something. This is a team effort to get to the other side of the fence. That perspective wins me more with that agent than trying to do that. And I'm not spending a single dollar. I'm not changing what the company that I go to. That's the thing, when people leave KW, 9 times out of 10, they'll say it's like, oh, I just think, a different environment will do something better for me. Yes, all the time. Squat. That doesn't mean squat. What it is their perspective sucks and their attitude sucks, and they think that being in a nice shiny new office is gonna make something different. The end result of it all is that you've got to do business, and you've got to have a perspective that allows you to do business. To do that. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So let me see if I can find, people would still quit calling me. So.
You're very.
She whiz.
I know.
Attitude, gratitude.
Find this last thing on perspective. Up top.
Oh, the thing about busy,
Change your thinking, change your world.
No.
the busy thing.
Now, this comes from True Academy, Chick-fil-A. So in this breakfast thing I went to, it was a person who had been with Chick-fil-A for a long time. And True Academy said this: nearly every moment of every day, we have the opportunity to give something to someone else. Our time, our love, our resources. I have always found more joy in giving when I did not expect anything in return. Now, I'm not saying to do things for zero commission. Okay, please understand that. However, what I am saying is, don't have the attitude or the perspective of, that's too hard to do. I have literally spent 4 hours of my life driving up 400, sitting in a driveway, waiting for an HVAC person, and to come to flip one switch that we didn't know needed to be flipped to begin with, because my clients are dealing with a very severe case of lupus down in Mobile, and they need to be near family to be able to get things done. I'm not going to get paid anymore. I'm not getting paid $250 an hour to sit in the driveway. Okay, now I'm gonna get paid well when we close next week, but I'm not getting paid for something of that. My perspective is, if I keep doing things of that from that positive nature of it, it'll come back around. It'll pay itself off eventually, in doing that. It can't always be the attitude of, screw it, why should I do that for them thing. Now, I'm not saying to get driven over, okay, or become roadkill, with someone taking advantage. There's a difference between the two, okay? But when it's something that in your business or your associates you can do to help them, that is no skin off your nose to do it, and makes you look like a higher level line of service in your business, I guarantee you that will come back around to you in a positive way. And that's what he's trying to say there, Then the last thing, second to last thing, is that at least in Chick-fil-A world here, and I found this interesting, is They found a business should be more interested in creating value than extracting value. Creating a fan rather than a sale. I mean, think about it. All of us have talked at one time about when you go to Chick-fil-A, they have great service, or, and stuff like that. I've never seen a group of realtors get more excited when there's dang chicken mini biscuits out there than anything else in the world, team me. Creating stakeholder value than stockholder value, which is easy to say when you're a privately held company. So, let's be clear on that. Sure, they don't say that at Disney, which we are, quite honestly. More interested in using the business to grow people. So if you have associates, do they know what your mission is? Which we're going to talk about a mission statement in a second. That's the grand finale. Do they know where you're wanting to go? Do you have a road for them to take to go somewhere? To help them, you understand what their goals are, what they want to achieve, and is there ways that you can help them achieve that? Getting to do this, a business should be more interested in, this is a big one, especially for us guys. A business should be more interested in getting to do this rather than not having to do this. I got to go sit in the driveway today and wait for that HVAC person to show up. And fortunately, the guy was as nice as he could be. I get to go take pictures probably next week on 60 acres of farmland in middle Georgia because I like selling land. I'm not going to complain about having to go down to Vienna, Georgia, to do it. I get to do it. But the thing is by me getting to do it, I'm going to be able to take my kids and family on a cruise at the end of August, because instead of complaining about what I'm having to do, I get to do that to be able to get to do the other. That's the attitude that and the perspective that you need to be, successful. Obviously, I'm talking too long between this because the camera keeps turning off. I'm sorry about that. A business should be more interested in being the best company in the world and the best company for the world. Now, that's something I really do think that Keller Williams, and this isn't an ad for KWRI, I do really think that they think that. What I don't think sometimes in the individual realtor aspect of it is constantly, and this is something that constantly drives me, is do you know what your reputation is out in the world, the business? Are you respected with that? Are you somebody that people will give you referrals? I've had the biggest ego boost this week in that, and this is not a big deal. It's a listing referral. But somebody found my name, they were in Charleston, South Carolina. They found my name. They actually called people that knew me and they all said, yes, he's the person to use in Atlanta. Somebody in Charleston that I still don't know who they are. At first I thought it was one of those chat PBT or AI calls or something of that sort, but they're real. And I'm going tomorrow to list a house. If anyone needs a ranch house in Mapleton, will be available next week. So.
Could you move it a little closer here?
Yeah. And then finally on this, a business should be more interested in being collaborative than being competitive. Perspective creates that, okay? Collaborative is where you actually listen to people's ideas. You listen to your client. And it goes back to that phrase I used, perspective. You've got to have that attitude of it. Now, the great thing about this market center, when people ask me about Chattanooga versus other market centers, and that should not be named, that we're competitive. I mean, let's be honest about it. We're competitive. We're not taking you out of your take you out of your knees at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in the parking lot of the corner. We're honestly happy for it. So, and from a perspective point of view, I will say to you, you should not be hanging with people who, when they succeed, when you succeed, that they don't clap for you, and when they succeed, you don't clap for them. if you're hanging around people who aren't willing to support you, even though they may not be the winner that time, get away from them. They're not doing you any good. They're not doing you any good emotionally, intangibly, perspective wise, or anything of that sort. There was somebody, this is years ago, that was sort of that way, that was in this market center, and I was actually told by Mike, may want to move, you know, a little bit away from them. I did, and my business started changing. You know, at that time. So there's a lot of truth to that. So the last thing, and I'm sorry that I ran over a little bit. The last thing is the R. So we have these mission statements that sound like 3 steps into a Hemingway, you know, title. Now, the one at Georgia Legacy Group, that's not in here, is a very eloquent, you know, mission statement. It is a great mission statement. But here's the simplistic one, and it'll cover everything about your business. Just be remarkable. Nothing more than that. And in that one word, remarkable, it means so many different things. Be remarkable in your marketing. Be remarkable in your client services. Be remarkable in your perspective. Be remarkable in your support team of lenders and such, and let them know that if you're going to be remarkable, they need to be remarkable. Remarkable covers you from all the levels of Ritz-Carlton level of service, the Nordstrom level of service, to Mercedes, or whatever you know, company you want to use at the high level. But just be remarkable. Do you get up in the morning and say to yourself, I'm going to be remarkable today? We don't. We really don't. And it connects into your perspective of doing that. If you have a listing presentation and you lay it out at the end of your listing presentation, let them know, our group, this is our mission statement to you. We are going to be remarkable. It's simple, it's elegant, it's eloquent, and it gets the point across. Okay? So that's all I got.
Yay.
Huh? Is that your mission thing? It is now.
You said what? Do you get one for your listing appointment?
I haven't been on one since I've had it created it, so yeah, I haven't been on a listing yet. Probably, yeah, tomorrow. You know, I'll say that to them, but hopefully get some perspective. One thing is that this is lunch I had, they wrote a book, remarkable, and I'm about halfway through the book right now. I'm not a fast reader, you know, something in Netflix exists. You know, watching the Citadel on Amazon, but it's actually a pretty easy read. And a lot of the things I talked about are in there.
Is it in the office?
Michelle is our librarian, so I have no idea.
I don't really I have seen it in the office, but I'll talk to you. You know, does everybody know that we have a library now?
Yes.
To check out books?
Really?
Okay, so I'm gonna
You
see
did that,
if I,
Michelle?
I did that, yeah.
Yeah, it's totally, she deserves 100% credit. She came up with the idea in ALC and she executed it.
Thank you.
Right, so if you check out a book, just use a QR code,
So we
you know, just. It's right over on this side.
Where the middle entrance to the offices are, the maze.
Second with the server bar, do you have? I'm not
Take a
sure
look.
what you want. There's lots of books of everything,
Lots of stuff
selling,
over there.
business, personal.
And got
If you have a book that you think might be a great addition, by all means, you can sign it, you know, to the office or whatever, say that you're donating it, you could put it on the book and put it there and it might help somebody else in the office.
Okay.
Okay, guys, Zoom land, go away and say something.
Thanks, David. That was awesome.
That's good. Yeah, thanks, David.
I swear to God, I think it's $5.99 to attend.
We're going.
6 something.
World.
My kid was there, imagine that.
Yeah, you see a bigger one in the chicken in this world.
Yeah. It's so hot. It's 5:00 today. You have a Saturday. Don't know
Yeah.
when it's changing.
You're getting less.
Yeah.
Which movie? Nice picture.
Mhm.
It's a property.
$5?
Mhm. Okay, I know exactly who you're looking at. The fellow name, I swear to God, is Austin Seaver. And, when I go back to my office. Compassionate.
Do you need help?
Sick original.
That is what it's gonna happen.
Yeah, let me go in my computer, but Austin's younger. He's sort of more that mindset, but he works with his mom. He's experienced and he and his mom are achieving, his mom's been in business for about 25 years. So that's one thing that's a good person.
Yeah, rolling right along.
Yeah. So I'll get that to you. Yeah.
Just trying to figure out.
No, I understand.
So thanks for the class.
Thank you for taking
More than welcome.
I don't think I've had a lack of self-confidence since I was like in fourth grade.
Oh, I have lots of self-confidence.
Really? Yeah. I had three confidence when I changed careers. Until like this last, just that first year, I was like. You know, because I went from knowing.
Yeah.
Still pretty confident. I mean, I don't know how to prove that
I think that's like $1.
No, I feel confident that if I go to these shit, we're trying to.
You know? But I would fully say, oh, yeah.
Hey, like, give me a light.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I said, just to know that I can get the help. if I can find
Yeah,
someone.
yeah.
Right.
Oh, are these the townhomes? Those are off of,
Yeah.